Part 2. They declared war on humanity. We told them to run. Commander Kelris stood on the bridge of his Valnari warship, watching the countdown timer above the main display. 48 hours remained until the human deadline expired. His ship was part of the 3rd Attack Fleet, positioned along the border of human territory. All around his vessel, hundreds of other Valnari ships waited in formation. Their weapons were charged and ready. Supply ships moved between the warships, providing ammunition and fuel. Everything was prepared for the assault. But Kelris felt uneasy. He was a career officer with 20 years of military experience. He had fought in 7 campaigns against other species. The Valnari Empire had absorbed each of those civilizations within months. Some surrendered immediately when they saw the size of the Valnari fleet. Others fought brief battles before accepting defeat. None of them had done what the humans were doing. "Commander," his tactical officer called out, "we just detected another human ship entering the asteroid belt near our position." Kelris walked to the tactical station. "What kind of ship?" "Looks like a mining vessel. Small, no visible weapons." The officer pointed at the screen. "It is moving through the asteroids, probably collecting ore." "Have they detected us?" "Impossible to say, sir. But they must know we are here. Our fleet is not exactly hiding." Kelris considered the situation. Supreme Commander Threlvan had ordered all ships to maintain their positions and avoid contact with human vessels until the deadline passed. But this mining ship was operating right on the edge of their formation. It seemed almost deliberate. "Send a warning," Kelris ordered. "Tell them to leave this area immediately." The communication officer worked his console for a moment, then frowned. "Sir, they are not responding. The ship is continuing its mining operations. Try again." Still no response, Commander. Kelris felt his unease grow stronger. Something was wrong about this situation. Why would a single mining ship ignore an entire battle fleet? Why would humans risk their people so close to enemy forces? His tactical officer looked up. "Commander, the fleet admiral is ordering us to destroy the mining ship. He says we cannot allow humans to observe our positions." Kelris took a deep breath. He did not want to fire the first shot, but orders were orders. "Target the mining ship." "1 plasma torpedo." "Yes, sir." The weapons console beeped. A single torpedo launched from his ship, its blue trail cutting through space. It struck the mining vessel dead center. The explosion was bright and brief. Metal fragments scattered into the asteroid field. "Target destroyed," the tactical officer reported. But Kelris noticed something strange. The explosion had been too clean, too uniform. Mining ships usually carried refined ore, which would have created a much larger debris field. This looked almost like the ship had been empty. "Sir," the communication officer suddenly shouted, "we are receiving thousands of scanner signals from all directions. Something just lit us up with every type of sensor scan possible." "What? From where?" "From everywhere. The asteroids, the debris field, even from our own ship's hulls. There are tiny devices attached to our vessels. They just activated." Kelris realized what had happened. The mining ship had been bait. The humans had wanted them to destroy it, and when they did, they revealed their exact weapon signature, their firing patterns, and their quantum communication frequencies. "Remove those devices immediately," Kelris ordered, "and report this to the fleet admiral." But he knew the damage was done. The humans now had detailed information about their fleet's capabilities. Across human space, Admiral Minho received the data transmission from the remote sensors. He sat in his command center on Earth, surrounded by holographic displays showing the position of every Valnari ship. His staff worked quietly around him, processing information and coordinating fleet movements. Dr. Ji-Wan stood beside him, analyzing the quantum signature data. "They fell for it perfectly," she said. "We now know their exact shield frequencies, weapon ranges, and communication protocols." "Good," Minho replied. He opened a communication channel to all fleet commanders. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega. Begin Phase 1. Throughout the Terran Coalition, things began to change. Civilian transport ships reported to military shipyards for modifications. Mining stations activated hidden weapon platforms. Colony worlds began evacuating non-essential personnel to underground shelters. Every human in every system knew what was coming. On the Indomitable, Captain Do-young gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. The ship had arrived back at Earth 6 hours ago. Now they were preparing for deployment to the front lines. Ensign Subin sat at the table, looking at the tactical displays with worried eyes. She had been reading reports about the Valnari fleet all day. The numbers were overwhelming. "Captain," she said quietly, "their fleet is almost 10 times larger than ours. How can we possibly win?" Do-young looked at Dr. Jiwon. "Show her." Jiwon pulled up a historical database on the main screen. "Ensign, do you know why humans are the only species in the galaxy that evolved as persistence hunters?" Subin shook her head. "On Earth, humans were not the strongest predators. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or sharp teeth, but we had something better. We had endurance." Jiwon displayed images of ancient Earth. Our ancestors would chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days. The animal would run until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then our ancestors would simply walk up and kill it. "What does that have to do with space combat?" Subin asked. "Everything," Do-young answered. "Other species fight battles. They focus on big weapons and powerful ships. They try to win through overwhelming force in a single engagement." Jiwon continued the explanation. "Humans fight wars. We do not care about winning individual battles. We care about destroying the enemy's ability to fight. We target supply lines, communication networks, and resource production. We make it impossible for them to sustain their military." She pulled up tactical diagrams. The Valnari have 800 warships. But those ships need fuel, ammunition, and replacement parts. They need food for their crews. They need repair facilities and supply bases. If we cut off those resources, their fleet becomes useless. "And how do we do that?" Subin asked. Do-young smiled grimly. "We hunt them." He stood up and walked to the tactical display. "Every human ship in the fleet is faster than Valnari vessels. We are more maneuverable. Our captains are trained to think independently, while Valnari crews follow strict command structures. We will not meet them in open battle," Jiwon added. "We will shadow their fleets, strike their supply convoys, sabotage their bases. We will never let them rest, never let them refuel safely, never let them repair their damage. We will chase them," Do-young said, "until they break." Subin looked at the star charts showing Valnari positions. "And if they attack our colonies, while we are hunting their supply lines?" "They will try." Minho's voice came through the communication system. The Admiral's face appeared on the briefing room screen. "Which is why we have Protocol Omega. Ensign, do you know what every human colony has in common?" "No, sir." "They are all defended by people who have studied human history. People who know what our species is capable of when threatened." Minho's expression grew cold. "The Valnari think our colonies are soft targets. They are wrong. Every colony has hidden defenses, underground bunkers, and civilian militias. If they attack our homes, they will discover that every human is a soldier when they need to be." The briefing ended, and the officers returned to their stations, but Ensign Subin remained behind with Dr. Jiwon. "Doctor," Subin said hesitantly, "is this really necessary? Can we not find a peaceful solution?" Jiwon looked at the young officer with sad eyes. "We tried, Ensign. Admiral Minho offered the Valnari a chance to withdraw. We gave them a warning. We told them to run." She paused. "But they think our kindness is weakness. They think our warnings are empty threats. Soon, they will learn the truth." "What truth?" "That humans only warn predators, not prey, and they chose to be predators." Back in Valnari space, Commander Kelris received new orders from Supreme Commander Threlvan. The deadline was approaching. In 24 hours, they would begin their assault on human colonies. But Kelris had been studying the human response to their ultimatum. Something bothered him deeply. The humans were not massing their fleets for a defensive battle. Instead, their ships seemed to be dispersing, spreading out across their territory in small groups. It made no tactical sense unless they were planning something completely different from a conventional war. Kelris opened a private communication to his trusted officers. I want continuous surveillance of all human ship movements. Document everything they do. I have a feeling we are missing something important. His tactical officer asked, What do you think they are planning, Commander? Kelris stared at the star charts. I think they are not planning to defend. I think they are planning to attack. But that is suicide. We outnumber them. Maybe, Kelris said quietly. Or maybe we do not understand how humans fight wars. The countdown continued. 24 hours until the deadline. 24 hours until the Valnari would attack. 24 hours until humanity stopped being civilized. Part 4. They declared war on humanity. We told them to run. Supreme Commander Threlvan did not withdraw his fleets. Instead, he made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. If the humans would not accept peace negotiations, he would force them to surrender through terror. Activate the planet killer weapon, he ordered. His bridge officers looked at him in shock. The planet killer was a massive device that could crack a world's crust and turn the entire surface into molten lava. It took days to charge and could only be used once before needing to be completely rebuilt. The Valnari had never used it before. It existed only as a deterrent. Sir, one officer protested, the Galactic Council has banned such weapons. If we use it, every civilized species will turn against us. The Council has already abandoned us, Threlvan snapped. The humans have destroyed half our fleet in less than a week. We need to show them that we are still dangerous. Target Hanbit Station. Hanbit Station was a large human colony orbiting a gas giant. It housed 50 million people, mostly civilian families and researchers. It was one of humanity's newer colonies, less than 20 years old. Commander Kelris heard the order and felt sick. He had spent the last week watching his fellow officers and crew members die in an impossible war. He had seen human tactics that defied every rule of civilized warfare. But targeting civilians was something else entirely. Commander Threlvan, Kelris spoke up over the fleet communication channel, I must object to this order. We are military officers, not murderers. You forget your place, Commander, Threlvan replied coldly. We are in a war for our survival. The humans have shown no mercy to our forces. Why should we show mercy to theirs? Because if we do this, we become the monsters they think we are. Threlvan cut off the communication. The planet killer weapon began its charging sequence. It would take 48 hours to reach full power. Once fired, nothing could stop it. Hanbit Station and everyone on it would be destroyed. On Earth, Admiral Minho received the intelligence report about the weapon activation. His face remained calm, but Dr. Jiwan could see his hands tighten on the edge of his command console. They are going to fire on a civilian colony, Jiwan said quietly. 50 million people, I know, Minho replied. He pulled up tactical displays showing the location of Threlvan's command ship. It was deep in Valnari territory, surrounded by defensive stations and the remaining warships of their fleet. It would be nearly impossible to reach in time. We need to evacuate Hanbit Station, an officer suggested. No, Minho said. If we evacuate, Threlvan will just target another colony. And another? He is trying to terrorize us into surrender. Then what do we do? Minho smiled for the first time in days. It was not a happy smile. We show him what real terror looks like. He opened a priority channel to Captain Do-Young. Captain, I have a special mission for you. How fast can the Indomitable make it to Valnari home space? Aboard the Indomitable, Do-Young checked the navigation displays. 16 hours at maximum speed, sir. But we would be going deep into enemy territory with no support. I know. That is exactly what I need you to do. 20 minutes later, 3 human ships jumped into hyperspace heading directly toward the heart of the Valnari Empire. The Indomitable led the small task force, accompanied by 2 stealth frigates equipped with experimental technology. Ensign Subin sat at her console, watching the hyperspace tunnel flow past them. She still could not believe what they were about to attempt. Captain, even if we reach Valnari space, how do we stop the planet killer weapon? We are 3 ships against hundreds. Captain Do-Young stood at the center of the bridge, his expression focused. We are not going to fight their fleet, Ensign. We are going to teach them about fear. Dr. Jiwan worked at the science station monitoring the ship's stealth systems. The new quantum cloaking technology should hide us from their sensors, but it has never been tested in combat conditions. Then we will test it now, Do-young replied. How long can we maintain the cloak? 72 hours maximum before the power drain becomes critical. That should be enough time. The 3 human ships emerged from hyperspace on the edge of Valnari home space. Their cloaking systems activated immediately, bending light and sensor waves around their hulls. To any observer, they simply vanished. Scanning for the command ship's location, Jiwan reported. Found it. Threlvan's vessel is in orbit around the Valnari homeworld, right above their capital city. Do-young smiled. Perfect. Take us there. Slowly. I want to make sure we stay invisible. For 6 hours, the Indomitable crept through Valnari space. They passed defensive stations and patrol ships without being detected. They slipped through sensor nets designed to catch any intruder. The quantum cloaking technology worked flawlessly. Finally, they reached orbit above the Valnari homeworld. Do-young could see the planet on the view screen. It was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. Billions of Valnari lived on that world. They had families, dreams, and futures, just like the humans on Hanbit Station. Position us directly above their capital city, Do-young ordered. Then drop the cloak. Subin turned in her chair. Sir, if we reveal ourselves, their entire defense fleet will attack us. I know. That is the point. The Indomitable appeared suddenly in orbit, its weapons powered up and pointed at the planet below. Immediately, alarms sounded throughout Valnari space. Defense platforms activated. Warships changed course to intercept the human vessel. On his command ship, Threlvan stared at the view screen in disbelief. A single human warship had somehow penetrated their most secure space and now hovered above their homeworld. How did they get there? He demanded. His tactical officer had no answer. Sir, all defense platforms are targeting the human ship. We can destroy it within seconds, then do it. Fire everything. But Do-young had anticipated this. Communications broadcast on all Valnari frequencies. Make sure everyone hears this. The transmission went out across every channel. Do-young's face appeared on screens throughout Valnari space, including on Threlvan's command ship. Supreme Commander Threlvan, Do-young said calmly, you have activated a weapon to destroy one of our colonies. You are prepared to kill 50 million civilians. I want you to understand something important. He gestured to someone off-screen. The view changed to show the Valnari homeworld below the Indomitable. The ship's weapons were locked onto the capital city. We could have fired the moment we arrived, Do-young continued. We could have destroyed your capital and killed millions of your people. But we did not. Do you know why? Threlvan did not respond, his face pale with shock. Because we are not you, Do-young said. We do not target civilians. We do not kill innocent people to prove a point. But we want you to understand that we could have, at any time during this war, we could have turned your homeworld into ash. We have the technology. We have the weapons. We simply chose not to use them. He leaned forward. You have 48 hours before your planet-killer weapon is ready to fire. We are going to stay here, above your capital, for exactly 48 hours. Every second of every minute of every hour, your people will look up at the sky and see a human warship capable of destroying them. They will live with that fear, just like you wanted our people at Hanbit Station to live with fear. The transmission ended. The Indomitable simply stayed in position, not moving, not firing, just hovering above the most important city in the Valnari Empire. Threlvan tried to order an attack, but his officers hesitated. If they destroyed the human ship, its weapons might fire automatically. The explosion might damage the capital, and more importantly, if one human ship could penetrate their defenses so easily, how many others were already hiding in their space? The Valnari defense fleet surrounded the Indomitable, weapons locked on target, but no one fired. Down on the planet's surface, billions of Valnari citizens looked up at the sky and saw the human warship. News broadcasts showed it constantly. Civilians panicked. Families evacuated the capital city. The government struggled to maintain order. Commander Kelris watched all of this from his ship. He finally understood what the humans were doing. They were not trying to win through military might. They were teaching the Valnari what it felt like to be hunted, what it felt like to know that death could come at any moment. On the second day, Kelris made a decision. He opened a private communication to other Valnari commanders who he knew shared his doubts about the war. This has to end, he told them. Threlvan is going to get us all killed. The humans have shown incredible restraint. They could have destroyed our homeworld but chose not to. We need to force Threlvan to surrender before it is too late. Several commanders agreed. Quietly, they began organizing. It was mutiny, the highest crime in Valnari military law. But Kelris knew it was the only way to save his species. On the Indomitable, Ensign Subin monitored the Valnari communication channels. "Captain, I am detecting unusual activity among the Valnari fleet. Multiple ships are changing formations without orders from Threlvan's command ship." Dr. Jiwan analyzed the data. "It looks like some Valnari officers are preparing to rebel against their supreme commander." Doyoung nodded. "Good. That means they are starting to understand." "Understand what?" Subin asked. "That this war was never about winning or losing. It was about teaching them a lesson they would never forget." Part 3. They declared war on humanity. We told them to run. The deadline passed at exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. Supreme Commander Threlvan of the Valnari Empire watched from his command ship as the timer reached 0. No surrender message had come from the humans. No plea for mercy. Nothing but silence. "Send the order," Threlvan commanded. "All fleets begin the assault. Destroy the human colonies in Epsilon Sector." The first fleet, consisting of 300 Valnari warships, jumped into hyperspace. Their target was a human mining colony on the edge of their territory. Intelligence reports indicated the colony had minimal defenses and a population of only 50,000. It would be an easy first victory. Commander Kelris was part of the first fleet. His ship emerged from hyperspace into the Epsilon sector, weapons ready. But what he saw on his scanners made him freeze. "Where are they?" his tactical officer asked, confusion clear in his voice. The sector was empty. No defense stations. No patrol ships. No warning buoys. Even the colony itself seemed to have gone dark. All power signatures had vanished. "This is wrong," Kelris muttered. He switched to the fleet communication channel. "Fleet Admiral, I recommend we proceed with caution." This could be a trap. The Fleet Admiral's voice crackled back, full of confidence. A trap? They simply evacuated when they realized they could not defend the colony. "Continue forward. We will occupy the mining stations." The Valnari fleet moved deeper into the sector in a standard assault formation. 300 massive warships bristling with weapons advancing on a silent colony world. Then the humans appeared. Not ahead of them. Behind them, 50 human ships materialized from hyperspace on the far side of the Valnari formation. They had used the system's star to mask their approach, hiding in the solar radiation while the Valnari fleet passed by. "Alert! Enemy ships behind us!" Kelris's tactical officer shouted, but the human ships did not fire their weapons. They simply accelerated, faster and faster, building up incredible speed. "They are going to ram us," someone screamed. Kelris realized the truth in that moment. Those were not crude warships. They were missiles. Huge missiles shaped like ships, each one packed with nuclear warheads and guided by advanced artificial intelligence. "Evasive maneuvers," the Fleet Admiral ordered. "All ships scatter formation." But it was too late. The human ships moved with impossible precision, each one targeting a specific Valnari vessel. They did not try to avoid defensive fire. They simply kept coming, absorbing damage until they reached their targets. The first impact lit up space like a new sun. A Valnari battlecruiser exploded as a human ship slammed into its reactor core. The nuclear warhead detonated a fraction of a second later, vaporizing everything within a kilometer. Then another impact, and another, and another. In less than 5 minutes, 50 Valnari warships were destroyed. The carefully organized fleet formation dissolved into chaos as captains tried desperately to avoid the kamikaze attack. But the human missiles were not the only threat. As the Valnari fleet scattered, thousands of smaller craft appeared from hiding spots throughout the sector. Human fighters, mining ships, cargo haulers, and shuttles, civilian vessels that had been converted into weapons. They swarmed the Valnari fleet like insects attacking a wounded animal. Kelris watched in horror as a human cargo ship rammed into a destroyer's engine section, crippling it. 3 fighters dove at a battleship, firing small missiles at its sensor arrays, blinding it. A mining ship released dozens of explosive charges that drifted into a cruiser's path like space mines. "This is not how civilized species fight," the Fleet Admiral shouted over the communication channel. "This is barbaric." Dr. Jiwan sat in the command center on Earth, watching the battle through real-time data feeds. Admiral Minho stood beside her, his face expressionless. First Fleet engagement statistics, an officer reported. Enemy losses, 53 warships destroyed, 127 damaged. Our losses, 50 missile ships, 94 fighters and civilian craft. Acceptable ratio, Minho said quietly. Continue with Phase 2. Jiwan pulled up tactical displays showing other Valnari fleet positions. The second and third fleets are moving to support the first fleet. They will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Then we have 6 hours to make the first fleet completely ineffective, Minho replied. He opened channels to human fleet commanders scattered throughout the sector. All ships execute persistence protocol. Do not let them rest. Captain Doyoung received the order aboard the Indomitable. His ship was part of a small group of 10 human warships shadowing the Valnari Second Fleet. They had been following the enemy for hours, staying just out of weapons range. Captain, Ensign Subin reported, the Valnari fleet is trying to establish a supply rendezvous. They are low on fuel and ammunition after the long journey. Where is the supply convoy? Doyoung asked. 3 light hours away, moving to meet them. Doyoung smiled. Helm plot an intercept course. Weapons, prepare missile tubes. We are going after their supplies. The Indomitable and its sister ships jumped ahead of the Valnari Second Fleet, targeting the vulnerable supply convoy. The cargo ships had minimal defenses. They were designed to carry resources, not fight battles. Fire, Doyoung ordered. Human missiles streaked across space. The supply ships tried to run, but they were too slow. One by one they exploded or were disabled. Fuel tankers ruptured, spilling their contents into space. Ammunition freighters detonated in brilliant flashes. All targets destroyed, the weapons officer reported. Good. Now back to the shadows. Stay out of range, but keep them on our scanners. The Valnari Second Fleet arrived at the rendezvous point to find only debris and wreckage. Their supply convoy was gone. Without refueling, they could not continue their mission. They would have to return to base, but the human ships followed them. For hours, then days. Never attacking directly. Just watching. Waiting. Making it impossible for the Valnari crews to relax or sleep. Every time a Valnari ship tried to stop for repairs, human vessels would appear on the edge of scanner range, forcing them to stay alert and ready for combat. It was psychological warfare at its finest. The Valnari crews grew exhausted and paranoid. Their ships became more damaged as time passed without proper maintenance. Food supplies ran low. Tempers flared. Commander Kelris experienced this horror firsthand with the First Fleet. After the initial battle, the survivors tried to regroup and continue their mission. But the human ships never left them alone. Small groups would appear suddenly, fire a few missiles, and then disappear before the Valnari could respond. Sleep became impossible. The moment crews tried to rest, alarms would sound as another human attack began. Kelris found himself standing on the bridge for 30 hours straight, his eyes burning with fatigue, his mind struggling to make tactical decisions. Commander, his communication officer said weakly, the fleet admiral is ordering us to attack the nearest human colony. He says we must show them we are still strong. Kelris looked at his crew. They were exhausted. The ship was damaged. Their weapons were running low on ammunition. Tell the admiral that we are not ready for another engagement. He says it is an order, sir. Kelris closed his eyes. He knew what would happen if they attacked. The humans would let them reach the colony. They would let them get close, and then they would spring another trap. More ships would be destroyed. More Valnari soldiers would die. Tactical officer, Kelris said quietly. What is our current combat effectiveness? The officer checked his displays. We are operating at 35% efficiency, Commander. Our shields are damaged, weapons are depleted, and the crew is exhausted. And the rest of the First Fleet? Similar conditions across all ships, sir. Some vessels are in worse shape than us. Kelris made a decision. He opened a private channel to his most trusted officers. I need your honest opinion. Can we win this war? His tactical officer spoke first. No, Commander. The humans are not fighting the way we expected. Every tactical doctrine we know is useless against them. His engineering officer added, they do not care about honorable combat. They target our supply lines, our rest periods, our psychological weaknesses. It is like being hunted by an intelligent predator. That is exactly what is happening, Kelris said. We are not fighting a military force. We are being hunted by apex predators who learned to hunt prey that was faster and stronger than them. On Earth, Admiral Minho reviewed the latest battle reports. The Valnari had lost over 200 warships in the first 3 days of combat. The humans had lost less than 300 total craft, most of them unmanned or converted civilian vessels. The Valnari Empire is requesting communication, an officer reported. Supreme Commander Threlvan wants to speak with you. Put him through, Minho said. The view screen activated. Threlvan appeared, his face showing signs of stress. Behind him, Kelris could see Valnari officers working frantically at their stations. Admiral Minho, Threlvan said, his voice trying to sound strong but failing. This conflict has gone on long enough. I propose we negotiate terms of peace. Peace? Minho repeated. You declared war on us, Commander. You gave us 72 hours to surrender. Now you want peace? We made a mistake. We underestimated your capabilities. No, Minho corrected him. You underestimated our willingness to survive. There is a difference. Part 1. They declared war on humanity. We told them to run. The bridge of the Terran warship. Indomitable hummed with quiet activity. Captain Hyun Do-young stood at the command station, his dark eyes fixed on the main view screen. Stars stretched endlessly before them, beautiful and cold. He had been staring at those stars for 20 minutes ever since the message arrived. Behind him, young Ensign Subin worked nervously at her console. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, but Do-young could hear the slight tremor in her breathing. She was new to the ship, barely 6 months out of the academy. This was probably her first real crisis. Captain, she said quietly, the message is being broadcast on all frequencies. Every human colony, every ship, every station is receiving it. Do-young nodded slowly. He had already listened to it 3 times. The voice of Supreme Commander Threlvan of the Valnari Empire still echoed in his mind. The alien's words had been clear and direct. Humanity had 72 hours to surrender all territories, all ships, and all weapons. If they refused, the Valnari would destroy every human world, one by one. Dr. Jiwan approached from the science station. She was a thin woman with sharp features and sharper intelligence. Her white coat was always perfectly clean, even after days in space. She carried a data tablet in her hands. I've been analyzing their fleet positions, she said. They have over 800 warships gathering at the edge of Epsilon Sector. More are arriving every hour. 800, Do-young repeated. The Indomitable was alone in this sector on a routine patrol. And how many do we have nearby? 12 ships within a day's jump, Jiwan answered. The nearest battle group is 3 days away. Ensign Subin turned in her chair. Captain, why are they doing this? What did we do to them? Jiwan pulled up a star chart on the main screen. The Valnari Empire controls 50 star systems. They are a military culture. Everything in their society revolves around strength and conquest. For the past 200 years, they have been expanding slowly, absorbing weaker civilizations. And they see us as weak, Do-young said. No, Jiwan corrected. They see us as dangerous. Humanity has expanded to 200 star systems in less than 300 years. We grow faster than any species they have ever encountered. It scares them. The communication console beeped. Subin touched a control. Sir, incoming priority message from Fleet Command. It's Admiral Minho. Put him through. The view screen changed. Admiral Minho appeared, sitting in his command center on Earth. He was an older man with gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. Behind him, Do-young could see dozens of officers working at their stations. Captain Do-young, Minho said. I assume you have heard the Valnari ultimatum. Yes, sir. Then you also know that every ship in the fleet is being recalled to defensive positions. I need the Indomitable to return to Earth immediately. Understood, sir. What is our response going to be? Admiral Minho was quiet for a moment. His eyes looked tired. We are going to give them a chance to run. Subin gasped softly behind Do-young. Even Jiwan looked surprised. Sir, Do-young said carefully. I am broadcasting a message to the Valnari Supreme Commander in 1 hour, Minho explained. I will tell him that he has 72 hours to withdraw his fleets from our borders. If he does, we will forget this happened. If he does not, The Admiral paused. Then we will show him why every other species in this galaxy learned to leave humanity alone. Do-young felt a chill run down his spine. He knew what the Admiral meant. Every officer in the Terran fleet knew the history. Humanity had not always been peaceful. Before they reached the stars, humans had nearly destroyed themselves. The resource wars of the 23rd century had killed billions. Entire continents had burned, oceans had boiled, but humanity survived. They always survived. Admiral, Jiwan spoke up. Has the Galactic Council responded? Minho's expression darkened. The Keltheran ambassador sent a private message. He warned the Valnari not to attack us. He reminded them what happened during the Unification Wars. The Unification Wars. Do-young remembered reading about them in school. 200 years ago, when humanity first developed faster-than-light travel, they had encountered dozens of alien civilizations. Some were friendly, many were not. Pirates, raiders, and hostile empires all tried to prey on the new species. They learned quickly not to. Humans did not fight wars the way other species did. They did not have honor codes or rules of engagement. When threatened, humans became something terrifying. They turned civilian ships into weapons. They used tactics that other species considered insane. They never surrendered, never stopped, never showed mercy until the threat was completely eliminated. The Valnari think the stories are exaggerated, Minho continued. They believe humans have become soft during 2 centuries of peace. They are wrong. What do you need us to do, sir? Do-young asked. Get your ship home, Captain. When this starts, I want the Indomitable on the front line. The Admiral leaned forward. And Do-young, prepare your crew. We are not going to fight a war. We are going to teach the Valnari why predators warn their prey before they strike. The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent. Ensign Subin stood up from her console. Her face was pale. Captain, are we really going to fight them? 800 ships against our fleet? Do-young turned to look at her. She was young, barely 22 years old. She had joined the fleet because she wanted to explore the stars, not fight wars. He remembered feeling the same way once, a long time ago. Subin, he said gently, do you know why I joined the military? She shook her head. I was born on Hellion Colony. 15 years ago, raiders attacked us. They killed thousands of people before our ships arrived. They killed my wife. They killed my daughter. His voice remained steady, but his eyes grew cold. I joined because I wanted to make sure no one else would ever suffer what my family suffered. He walked to the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. The Valnari think they can threaten our children. They think they can destroy our homes. They are about to learn something important. What, sir? Subin asked quietly. Humans do not start fights, Do-young said, but we always finish them. Jiwan moved to his side. Captain, I should tell you something. Fleet Command has authorized Protocol Omega. Everyone on the bridge went still. Protocol Omega was a secret directive that most officers only heard rumors about. It had never been activated before. What is Protocol Omega? Subin asked nervously. Jiwan looked at her. It means every civilian ship, every mining station, every colony becomes part of the war machine. It means humanity stops pretending to be civilized. Set course for Earth, Do-young ordered. Maximum speed. We have 72 hours before this begins. As the Indomitable turned toward home, Do-young watched the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there, the Valnari fleet was gathering. Supreme Commander Threlvan probably thought he had already won. He probably believed that humanity would surrender when faced with overwhelming force. He was wrong. Humanity had given them a warning. They had 72 hours to run. If they chose to stay, they would learn the hardest lesson any species could learn. They would discover why every predator in nature warns its prey before attacking, because predators are not cruel. They are efficient, and humanity had learned efficiency through centuries of survival. The countdown had begun. Part 5. They declared war on humanity. We told them to run 3 months after the war ended. Commander Kelris stood in the conference room aboard Earth's orbital station. Through the massive windows, he could see the blue and green planet below. It was strange to think that this beautiful world had produced the species that nearly destroyed his empire. Across the table sat Admiral Minho, Captain Doyoung, and Dr. Jiwan. Behind them stood Ensign Subin, now promoted to lieutenant for her actions during the war. The peace treaty documents lay on the table between them, waiting for final signatures. "Before we sign," Kelris said quietly, "I need to understand something. Why did you show mercy? After everything we did, after we threatened your colonies, your families, why did you not simply destroy us?" Admiral Minho leaned back in his chair. "Because we remember what it is like to be the ones threatening destruction. For centuries, humans fought each other. We built weapons that could end all life on Earth. We came within moments of using them multiple times. But you stopped yourselves," Kelris said. "Barely," Jiwan added. "We almost destroyed our own species through war, pollution, and greed. We learned mercy the hardest way possible, by seeing what happens when you have no mercy." Captain Doyoung spoke up. "When we reached the stars and met other species, some of them tried to prey on us. They thought we were weak because we offered friendship instead of showing our weapons. They learned their mistake just like your empire did. But why warn us?" Kelris pressed. "Why give us 72 hours to retreat? If you had attacked immediately, you would have had the advantage of surprise." Minho smiled slightly. "Because that is what predators do in nature, Commander. Before a predator attacks, it often warns its prey. It gives them a chance to run. Not out of kindness, but out of efficiency. Fighting is dangerous, even for the strongest predator. It is always better if the prey simply leaves." "But we did not leave," Kelris said. "No. And that was your choice." Doyoung's expression grew serious. "Every warning we gave you was genuine. We truly wanted you to withdraw. But when you refused, when you threatened our civilians, you forced us to show you what humanity becomes when we stop being civilized." Kelris thought about the war. The Valnari had lost over 500 warships. Thousands of soldiers had died. Their military infrastructure was in ruins. Their economy was collapsing under the weight of war debts. And what had they gained? Nothing except the knowledge that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. "The galaxy is afraid of you now," Kelris said. "Every species knows what happened here. They know that humans do not fight conventional wars." "Good," Minho replied. "Fear prevents war. If other species fear us enough to never attack, then we never have to become the monsters we are capable of being." Jiwan pulled up a holographic display showing the peace treaty terms. "For the next 50 years, the Valnari Empire will reduce its military to defensive forces only. Human advisors will work with your government to help rebuild your economy and infrastructure. We will share technology and resources." "You are not going to occupy our worlds?" Kelris asked, surprised. "Why would we?" Doyoung said. "We do not want your territory. We never did. We just wanted you to leave us alone." Kelris looked at the treaty terms. They were surprisingly generous. The humans were offering trade agreements, technology transfers, and economic aid. They were treating the Valnari like partners, not conquered enemies. "I do not understand," Kelris admitted. "You won the war completely. You could demand anything you want. Why are you being so kind?" Lieutenant Subin spoke for the first time. "Because we want you to remember this lesson, Commander. We want every species in the galaxy to understand that humans prefer friendship over war. But if forced to fight, we will do whatever is necessary to survive." Admiral Minho stood up. "Commander Kelris, your empire made a mistake. You mistook our desire for peace as weakness. You thought our warnings were empty threats. But now you know the truth. Humans only warn predators, not prey, and you chose to be a predator." He extended his hand across the table. "But predators can learn. They can adapt. They can become something better. We are offering you that chance." Kelris stared at the extended hand. In Valnari culture, accepting an enemy's hand meant acknowledging complete defeat and accepting their mercy. It was the ultimate act of submission, but it was also the only path forward. Kelris reached out and grasped Minho's hand. "On behalf of the Valnari Empire, I accept your terms. We will honor this treaty." The two leaders signed the documents. The war was officially over. 5 years later, Kelris stood on a platform in the capital city of the Valnari homeworld. Before him, a massive crowd of Valnari civilians gathered to witness the unveiling of a new monument. It had been built in the exact spot where the Indomitable had hovered during those terrifying 48 hours. The monument was a statue of a human figure extending a hand. The inscription was written in both Valnari and human languages. As Kelris read the words to the assembled crowd, he felt the weight of their meaning. They could have destroyed us. They chose to teach us instead. Never mistake human kindness for weakness. Respect their warnings. Remember, they always give you a chance to run. Commander Kelris had become the Valnari ambassador to Earth. He spent his days teaching his people about human culture, human history, and human nature. He made sure that every young Valnari officer learned about the war and the lessons it taught. Captain Do-young retired from active military service and took command of the new Terran diplomatic fleet. His ships were still warships, fully armed and capable of devastating force, but their primary mission was to show other civilizations that humanity preferred peace. The weapons were there as a reminder, not a threat. Dr. Jiwan established the Institute for Interspecies Understanding on Earth. Alien students came from across the galaxy to learn about humanity. She taught them about human evolution, human psychology, and human history. She made sure they understood both the good and the terrible things that humans were capable of. Lieutenant Subin became the youngest captain in the Terran fleet. She commanded a patrol vessel on the borders of human space, watching for potential threats and making first contact with newly discovered civilizations. When she encountered aggressive species, she would give them the same warning that Admiral Minho had given the Valnari. You have a chance to retreat. Take it, because humans do not want to fight. But if you force us to, you will discover why every other species in this galaxy learned to leave us alone. Admiral Minho remained as the head of Fleet Command for 3 more years before finally retiring. His final act was to update the official military doctrine that all human officers had to study. The last page contained a simple message. Humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons, our ships, or our tactics. It is our ability to remember. We remember what it was like to be hunted. We remember what it was like to nearly destroy ourselves. We remember the value of mercy and the cost of war. Never forget these memories. They are what separate us from the monsters we could become. 10 years after the war, the Galactic Council held a special session. Representatives from 40 species gathered to discuss a proposal from the Keltheran ambassador. The human species has demonstrated something that we rarely see in the galaxy, the ambassador said. They have the power to destroy their enemies completely, but they choose restraint. They warn before they strike. They show mercy to those who surrender, and they help rebuild what they were forced to destroy. The ambassador pulled up images of Valnari space. The formerly militaristic empire had transformed into a peaceful civilization focused on trade and culture. Their economy had recovered with human help. Their people prospered. I propose that we officially recognize humanity as a guardian species, the ambassador continued. They have proven that they will use force only when necessary and will show mercy whenever possible. They are exactly what the galaxy needs to maintain peace. The vote was unanimous. Humanity became one of only 5 guardian species in galactic history. It was both an honor and a terrible responsibility. When the news reached Earth, people celebrated in the streets. But in the halls of Fleet Command, the mood was more serious. Being a guardian species meant that humanity would be expected to intervene in conflicts, to protect weaker civilizations and to police aggressive empires. It meant they would have to fight again, eventually. But this time, they would fight not for their own survival, but for others. 15 years after the war, Captain Subin returned to the Epsilon sector where the first battle had taken place. Her ship was on a routine patrol when her sensors detected something unusual near the old mining colony. Captain, her tactical officer reported, I am picking up a small vessel. It appears to be Valnari, but it is not responding to our hails. Subin tensed. Were there still Valnari who refused to accept the peace? Raised shields. Approach carefully. As they got closer, the sensors revealed that the Valnari ship was heavily damaged. Life support was failing. Scan for life signs, Subin ordered. 1 survivor, Captain. Valnari, unconscious but alive. They brought the survivor aboard. It was a young Valnari officer, barely old enough to have served in the war. When he woke up in the medical bay, his eyes went wide with fear.